students, we are done with principles of social group work. There we discussed about principles of planned group formation, specific objectives, utilization of resources and evaluation, and the role of social worker. Here in the lesson 4, we are going to understand about different stages in group. Many of the authors have studied the process of working with group, but there is no agreement on the stage of the process, as the different authors use different terminologies to describe these. Number of stage is also different among the authors. Many attempts have been made to classify developmental stages into stages of group development. According to Norton, a stage is differentiable period or discernible degree in the process of growth and development. Although phases and stages are often used interchangeably in the literature, in this text, phases of group work refers to a worker's activity during the stages of group development. Models of group development have been presented by many authors. Most of the models are based on description of groups that the author of each model worked with or observed. Most models propose that all groups pass through similar stages of development. However, different writers have different ideas about the numbers and types of stage through which all group passes. There have been attempts to integrate differing models of group development. Although there have been attempts to integrate differing models of group development, there are very empirical studies of particular models and little empirical evidence to support the notion that any one model accurately describes the stages through which all group pass. Most of the empirical studies have relied on direct observation or tape recordings of a small number of groups or a series of similar groups led by same leader. The studies that have been conducted tend to suggest that groups move through stages, but the stages are not constant across different groups. The beginnings of groups are characterized by emergence of group feeling. Middle stage is characterized by continuation of conflict found in beginning stage of group development. During middle stages, the conflict centers on testing and exploring the worker's role as a designated leader. At the same time, there is a deepening of interpersonal relationships and greater group cohesion. After this occurs, group concern themselves with task performance. Problem solving, performing, maintenance and maturity are the terms more frequently used to describe this process. Task accomplishment is differentiation of roles and accompanied by the development of feedback and evaluation mechanisms. The endings of the group are characterized by the completion and reevaluation of group's efforts. Bale's model group development suggests that during this stage, task groups make decisions, finish their business and produce the results of their efforts. In treatment groups which have emphasized on socio-emotional functioning as well as accomplishment being a process of separation, during which feeling and cohesion decline. Often members mark termination by summarizing the accomplishments of group and celebrating together. Despite the variable nature of stages of group development described by different authors, it appears all models contain similar stages. Tosland and Rivers have divided the various stages of group development into 3 stages: beginning, middle and end. Each of the models of group development is placed in relationship to these 3 broad stages. Stages of group development. Bales: in the beginning stage orientation, in the middle stage evaluation, in the end stage decision making. Tuckman: beginning stage forming, middle stage storming, norming, performing, end stage adjourning. Norton: beginning stage planning and intake, process, orientation, middle stage exploring and testing, problem solving, end stage termination. Hartford: beginning stage pre-group, planning, convening, middle stage group formation, disintegration and conflict, group function and maintenance, end stage pre-termination, termination. Klein: beginning stage orientation, resistance, middle stage negotiation, intimacy, end stage termination. Trekker: beginning stage beginning, emergence of some group feeling, middle stage development of bond, purpose and cohesion, strong group feeling, decline in group feeling, end stage ending. Sari and Glansky: beginning stage origin phase, formation phase, middle stage intermediate phase 1, revision phase, intermediate phase 2, end stage termination. According to Garland, Jones and Colandi. Beginning stage pre-affiliation, power and control, middle stage intimacy, differentiation, end stage separation. Henry. Beginning stage initiating, convening, formation, middle stage maintenance, and end stage termination. By observing these three broad stages, we can understand that researchers in these areas have provided many studies that illustrate the general cycle and phases through which group seems to be progress. In general, most theories look upon group development as a series of phases through all small group progress, or at least some sort of recurring cycle of member attraction based on different factors. Rosemary Sari and Meidaglansky. They derive from an analysis of small group research primarily in sociology and group psychotherapy. This model of development is congruent with Winter's conception of the group as both the means and context for treatment. The Sari and Glansky model consists of 7 distinct phases. 1. Origin phase. This phase refers to the composition of the group and is distinguished primarily for analytic purpose, since it is at least a precondition for later period. Second, formative phase. This initial activity of the group members is seeking similarity and mutuality of interest is outstanding characteristic of this phase. Initial commitments to group purpose, emergent personal ties, and a quasi-group structure are also observable. Intermediate phase 1. This phase is characterized by a moderate level of group cohesion, clarification of purposes, and observable involvement of members in goal-directed activities. Revision phase. This phase is characterized by challenges to the existing group structure and accompanying modification of group purposes and operating procedures. Intermediate phase 2. Following the revision phase, while many groups progress towards maturation, the characteristics outlined in intermediate phase 1 may again appear, though the group generally manifests a higher level of integration and stability than in earlier phase. Maturation phase. This phase is characterized by stabilization of group structure, group purpose, operating and governing procedures, expansion of the culture of the group, and the existence of effective responses to internal and external stress. Termination phase. The dissolution of the group may result from goal attainment, lack of integration, or previously made plans about the duration of the group. Garland, Jones, and Colandi 5 stages of group development. This 5-stage model of group development was derived from the analysis of group process records at the Children's Agency over a 3-year period. It is solid in its theoretical underpinnings, well articulated and richly exampled with group process materials. It offers the most advanced statement in the literature concerning worker focus at each of the various stages. The author has identified the 5 stages in terms of the central theme, characteristic of each. They are as follows. First, pre-affiliation. Closeness of the members is a central theme in this stage, with approach avoidance as a major early struggle in the relation to it. Ambivalence towards involvement is reflected in members, vacillating responses to program activities and events. Relationships are usually non-intimate and good deal of use may be made of rather stereotypic activity as a means of getting acquainted. 2. Power and control. After making the decision that the group is potentially rewarding, members move to a stage during which power, control, status, skill and decision making are the focal points. There is likely to be testing of the group worker and the members as well as attempt to define and formalize relationship and to define a status hierarchy. 3 basic issues are suggested by the power struggle phenomena: rebellion and autonomy, permission and the normative crisis, protection and support. Intimacy. This stage is characterized by intensification of personal involvement, more willingness to bring into open feelings about club members and group leader, and striving for satisfaction of dependency needs. Sibling-like rivalry tends to appear, as well as overt competition of group to family life. There is a growing ability to plan and carry out group projects and a growing awareness and mutual recognition of the significance of group experience in terms of personality growth and change. Differentiation. In this stage, members begin to accept one another as distinct individuals and to see the social worker as a unique person and the group as providing a unique experience. Relationships and needs are more reality based. Communication is good and there is a strong cohesion. As clarification of power relationships gave freedom for autonomy and intimacy, so clarification of and coming to terms with intimacy and mutual acceptance of personal needs brings freedom and ability to differentiate and to evaluate relationship and events in the group on the reality basis. The group experience achieves a functionally autonomous character in this fourth stage. In freeing perceptions of the situation from distortions or extraneous experience, in creating its unique institutions and modes, the group becomes, in a sense, its own frame of reference. Separation. The group experience has been completed and the members may begin to move apart and find new resource for meeting social, recreational, vocational needs. The following reactions have been observed repeatedly in groups in the process: denial, regression, recapitulation of past experience, evaluation, flight, and pleas from members who say we still need the group. Tuckman's model have been used extensively within youth work theory and practice is excellent for attempting to analyze individual and group behavior. Stage 1: Forming. In the forming stage, the group workers' primary objective is to help the members to work together in a cooperative and productive manner, while feeling that their unique contribution to the group is respected and appreciated. To accomplish this primary objective in forming stage of group, the worker is required to facilitate member introduction, clarify the purpose and function of the group as it is perceived by a worker, the members and agency, discuss and clarify the limits of confidentiality within the group, help the members feel a part of the group and guide the development of the group, balance the task and the socio-emotional aspects of the group process and set goals, contract for work and facilitate members' motivation to work in the group, anticipate obstacles to achieving individual group goals. In the forming stage, interaction leads to creation of new entity groupness, leading to achieving of commonality of perception. Social workers' role is to help to form group that is beneficial to help members. Characteristics of forming stage: face-to-face association and need of familiarization and adoption. Initial anxiety among the members. Relationship between members to members and members to leader is problematic. Relationship with member each other evolve out of expectation of the role assigned to each other. Concentration of self, lack of knowledge about intake procedure, about norms and values leads to lack of mutuality. No established pattern and cohesive is weak. Storming. It is time of intra-group conflict. The group members feel a lack of unity and resistance of group tasks. Group members express hostility to group leader not for solving the problems. The leader's competency may directly question. Group members are confronted by the reality of unmet hopes and begin to feel uncomfortable with their dependency on the leader. Subgroups emerge, negative feelings are expressed and work at hand decreases. The resolution of this phase depends how easy it is to work through frustrated feelings and get on with organizing activity. This is the stage which emphasizes on development of patterns of social interaction. This is characterized by exploring and testing on situation and unrest, conflict and tension. Characteristics of storming: relationship, negotiation and conflict, ideological conflicts and polarization around issues, conflict and tension about every decision to be picked up, testing and struggle for power and competition for leadership, increased tension, hostility, projection of feelings of ambivalence, frustration and conflict. There are certain aims of group worker to solve the problems in storming stage: help members to express tension, keep group safe and free from negative feelings, encourage realistic expectations of group leader, attempt to maintain the group bond despite natural fragmentation. Stage 3: norming. This phase begins with decrease of dissatisfaction, strong norms and the group culture emerge. Members now feel more positive about them and take pleasure in doing the activity. Members disclose more and work together to solve conflicts. It is time of closeness and the group tends to be self-preoccupied. Members' roles become more flexible and functional. The group knows what it is doing, can mobilize its resources and resolve internal conflicts. As the group becomes more cohesive and productive in performance, the facilitator needs to encourage the group responsibility, involvement and risk taking. Clarification of expectations helps the members to understand and assume rights and responsibility. The worker needs to show expectations are relevant to the capacities of the individual. The steps should be followed in this stage. The introduction of policies and procedure by the agency. Norms develop that define the way conflict will be expressed, managed and resolved. Conflict over conformity to the norms, which develops pressure among members to adhere to norms. Development of group code. Internalization of standards behavior. Member trust that there will be no rejection, punishment or severe consequences. There are various aims of worker in norming stage. Maintain group identity and cohesion, encourage members' involvement, sharing and feeding, encourage the members to take the initiative and responsibility for their own action. Stage 4. Performing. In the performing stage, the worker more actively on achieving it to its goal. Energy shift away from forming the group towards the job at hand. Members trust and support each other and they are able to express constructively both positive and negative feelings. Characteristics of stage performing. Interdependence of members and patterns attain stability. Experience feeling of stability and freedom and cohesive group. Acceptance and utilization of differences and high acceptance of new member. Predominant qualities of trust, acceptance and interdependence. Steps to be followed in performing stage. Development of stereotype roles in group, emergence of subgroup, development of group code, appropriate development of pattern of communication to punish the deviance who is not adhering group code, development of means for resolution and management of conflict. There are various aims in performing stage: to encourage expression of feeling, encourage ending ritual, encourage evolution of the group, acknowledge any unfinished business. In the performing stage, the group becomes concerned about its end and the movement of member into other group. There is a sense of impending loss and anticipatory mourning. Members may also assess the success and failures of their group experience. If the group ends with sense of accomplishment, positive feeling will be stronger than the negative ones. Work on the activity will be its high at the beginning of this period and then gradually diminish.